Michael Skinner is that young man that I am pleased to call my brother, to be able to tell you he has a word that burns in his heart. And I've asked him to take 10 minutes here before I bring a short message and just let him touch your heart. So will you please welcome this dear brother right now? Come on.
All right, so what I'm going to talk about today is God put a bunch of different trials and tribulations in your life. You may think you don't have them, but every one of us have them. And I'm going to start in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And it says, "There hath no temptation taken you but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it." Have you ever just said, "I can't handle this anymore"? Maybe you've been through financial problems, temptations, loss, or a season where you couldn't understand what God was doing. But there's something we need to understand, a big thing we need to understand. The Bible doesn't actually promise that God will never allow more circumstances than we can handle. Sometimes God allows us to reach the end of our own strength, so we have to rely on God to step in and take control. It's more than we can handle. And we're going to look what Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. "For we would not, brethren, have you ignorant of trouble, which came to us in Asia, that we were pressed out of measure, above strength, in so much that we despaired even of life. But we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God, which raises the dead." Paul literally tells us under a burden beyond their own strength. They didn't have the strength to get through that. Paul was sick. He was nigh unto death. And why would God allow that? Verse 9 gives us the answer. That we should not trust in ourselves, but in God which raises the dead. Sometimes God has something bigger than us because He wants us to stop depending on ourselves and depend on Him more. God doesn't promise us an easy life. Jesus never promised that following Him would mean we never suffer. John 16:33. "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace in the world. Ye shall have tribulations, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." So Jesus didn't say if you have troubles. He said you shall have tribulations. You will have problems. Christians face storms. People cry, we lose people, we get hurt, and there's many of temptations we face. But the difference is, we don't face those storms alone. God is with us through every bit of it. Everywhere we are, God is with us. God's grace is greater than your weakness. Paul asked 3 times to remove his thorn in the flesh in 2 Corinthians 12:8. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, 3 times, that it may depart from me. And in verse 9, and he said unto me, Jesus is speaking here, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Paul wanted the problem removed. But God gave him sufficient enough grace to walk through it. He never took it away from him. But sometimes we're praying, God, take this away. And God may be saying, I'm going to give you the strength to pull through your battles. You may not understand the storm, but you can trust the one who is with you in this storm. You don't have to carry it alone. Matthew 11:28 also tells us what I just said, and we'll read that out. Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Jesus doesn't say figure it out yourself. He says, come unto me, bring me your burdens. Bring him everything you have, everything you're going through, you bring to God, and he will take it from you. If we were carrying all the weight on our shoulders, we'd probably get a hernia. In all honesty, we got so much weight on our shoulders, but God can carry that. He has enough strength to carry everything. In 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. God cares about what you're going through, and he'll never leave us. So will God allow you to face more than you can handle? Yes, he will give you more than you can handle. But he will never ask you to face more than he can handle. That's the difference. Your strength has a limit, God's strength doesn't. Your wisdom has a limit, God's wisdom doesn't. Your ability has a limit, God's ability doesn't. And we reach the place when you say, God, I can't do this anymore. That doesn't have to be the end. It can become a moment you say, God, I can't, but you can. Isaiah 41:10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yes, I will help thee. Yes, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. You may be facing something today that feels bigger than you. Don't measure the size of your problem against the size of your strength. Measure it against the greatness of your God, because what is too much for you is never too much for God. God may allow you to reach the end of your strength, but he will never reach the end of his.
Proud of you. Wow.